Kara's old shoes squeaked against the worn, checkered tiles, the sound echoing through the quiet emptiness of Mel's Corner Diner. Neon lights reflected off the grease-streaked windows, while autumn rain tapped a mournful rhythm outside. Inside, a 35-year-old woman with tired eyes kept wiping the same table over and over, as if she could scrub away the worries weighing on her heart. 12 years of waiting tables had taught Kara how to read people through their glances, their gestures, their silences. The businessman hiding divorce papers behind a newspaper. The elderly lady ordering soup just for someone to talk to. The truck driver counting his change for the third time before daring to order. She'd seen every kind of person come and go. But the man at table 7 made her pause. He sat alone, rain still clinging to his expensive suit, a cup of black coffee gone cold in front of him. The dim light threw his face into pale relief beads of sweat glistening at his temples. Kara frowned. A chill crawled down her spine. She had seen that look before, just before her father died, of a heart attack. "More coffee, sir." "No, just the check." His voice was low hoarse, trying to stay composed, but so tired it made her throat tighten. Kara set the bill down, but instead of walking away, she tilted her head slightly. "Are you all right? You don't look so well." He opened his mouth to answer, but pain hit him like a blade to the chest. The coffee cup slipped from his hand, shattering porcelain shards, scattering across the floor, dark liquid spreading like blood. "Oh my God!" Kara gasped, rushing to him. "Sir, can you hear me? What's your name?" "Leo," he managed to whisper. "Can't breathe." She recognized it instantly. A heart attack. The CPR training sessions at the fire station came flooding back. She dropped to her knees beside him, hands trembling, but voice steady. "Leo, look at me. My name's Kara. Do you hear me? I'm here. You're going to be okay." She grabbed her phone, her tone firm but trembling. "Ambulance to Mel's Corner Diner, 34th Street, middle-aged male, chest pain, shortness of breath." Outside rain pounded harder. Inside, time seemed to stop. Leo tried to speak, panic flickering in his eyes between broken breaths. "Is there someone I should call?" Kara asked softly. He shook his head, tears welling at the corners of his eyes. "No, no one." She held his hand tighter. "I'm here, Leo. I'm not going anywhere." As the wail of sirens drew closer, Kara felt his fingers clutch hers. A man who once seemed to have the whole world in his grasp, now holding on to nothing but the warmth of a stranger. The diner's glass door burst open. Paramedics flooded in like a storm. They lifted Leo onto a stretcher, but even as the oxygen mask covered his face, he searched for her hand, eyes pleading, "Don't go." Kara's throat tightened. "I'm coming with you. You're not alone." She didn't think twice. Her shift wasn't over. The babysitter was only paid until midnight, but there was something in his eyes, a raw fear, a loneliness that wouldn't let her walk away. It was the same look her daughter Era had whenever a thunderstorm rolled in. At Mercy General Hospital, Kara sat in the cold waiting room, her uniform still damp with rain and coffee. The sharp click of doctors' shoes echoed against the white floor, and the faint smell of disinfectant hung in the air. She had called Mrs. Chen, the neighbor, asking her to watch Era a little longer, only saying she'd be late. But how could she possibly explain that a stranger on the edge of death had made her unable to leave? Kara sat curled up on the cold plastic chair of the hospital, her hands still stained with dried coffee. She still couldn't quite understand why she was there waiting for news about a man she'd met only 2 hours ago. How could she possibly explain that to anyone? Ma'am, a doctor in green scrubs approached, pulling down his mask to reveal a tired smile. "You're the one who came in with Mr. Leo Harrison, right?" Kara shot up from her seat, her heart dropping into her stomach. "Yes. How is he?" "He's stable," the doctor said softly, his voice like a faint breeze. "A severe stress-induced cardiac episode. But luckily, you called for help just in time. Actually," he paused, eyes softening, "you saved his life." Kara exhaled, her shoulders sagging. She wasn't sure if she was trembling from fear or relief. "He's asking for you." Her heart skipped a beat. The hospital corridor gleamed white and sterile. The hum of machines, the click of shoes, and the sharp tang of disinfectant filled the air. Kara walked past each door, feeling like she was drifting through a dream. When the door finally opened, she saw Leo, the man who had collapsed at table 7, now lying amid a tangle of tubes and monitors. He looked smaller, frailer, but when he saw her, his eyes lit up. "You came. I told you I would." Kara smiled, pulling a chair beside his bed. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck, but still breathing." "Guess that's lucky." Leo looked at her for a long moment, long enough to make her uneasy. His gaze was no longer distant or guarded. It was the look of someone rediscovering something long lost: trust. "Kara," he said quietly, "there's something I need to tell you." She waited, the white hospital light reflecting in his serious, worried, almost fearful eyes. "The name on my card, Harrison Industries. That's my company. I'm not just Leo. I'm Leo Harrison." He paused, watching her reaction. He was used to the flicker of awe, the forced smiles, the quick change in tone when people realized who he was. But Kara only tilted her head, puzzled. Am I supposed to know you?" For the first time in years, Leo laughed, a real laugh. Not rehearsed, not hollow. "I run a tech corporation, a big one, and I'm very rich." Her expression changed, not into greed, but into a quiet wall closing up. Caution, distance, as if she had just realized how far apart their worlds really were. "Oh," she stood, her voice barely above a whisper. "I should go. I'm sure. There are people who should be here instead." "No." Leo reached out and grabbed her hand. The warmth of his touch made her stop. "Please, don't go. I don't have anyone else. And you stayed. Not for money, not for fame. You stayed because you chose to. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" His heart monitor began to beep faster. Kara placed her hand gently on his shoulder, voice softening. "All right, I'll stay for a while, but you need to stay calm." She sat back down. The two of them fell into silence. In that cold, white room, the only sounds were the rain tapping against the window and the rhythmic beeping of the machine. Two lonely souls, finding each other in the quiet. Neither of them knew that outside the window, a photographer's lens had just clicked. And, by the next morning, the story "Waitress Saves Billionaire" was front-page news across the country. 3 days later, Kara's life shattered like that coffee cup on the diner floor. A photo of her holding Leo's hand in the hospital was everywhere. The Billionaire's Mystery Angel Diner. Waitress saves tech mogul. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Mom, there are people with cameras outside." Little Era whispered, eyes wide with fear, as she peeked through the torn curtain. Kara had never seen her daughter look so frightened. For the first time in 3 years, she called in sick. Mel's diner was now surrounded by reporters. Everyone was talking about the heroic waitress. But Kara only felt exhausted, violated. Her quiet life had been ripped open and turned into a headline. The phone buzzed again. Fourth time that day. Leo calling. Kara, please let me explain. There's nothing to explain, she rasped, her voice raw from fatigue. You don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone would have done. But I want to help. I know about your student debt, about your daughter's medical bills from last year. Kara froze. Her voice turned cold. How do you know that? A long silence. I had someone look into it. I just wanted to help the right way. She stood still, her heart pounding, as if someone had just slapped her pride. You investigated me, she said, her voice trembling. What do you think I am? Some kind of charity case? Across the city, Leo sat in his gleaming penthouse, surrounded by everything money could buy, yet feeling completely hollow. He knew he'd made a mistake seeing Kara not as a person, but as a problem to be solved. It's not like that. I know what you wanted, Kara cut in, voice breaking. A rich man feeling guilty, thinking he can buy back someone's kindness. She hung up. Silence filled the room. And somewhere beyond the rain, Leo finally realized, sometimes it isn't wealth that's hard to earn, it's a genuine heart. Kara never thought that kindness could turn her life upside down. One heart attack, one emergency phone call, and now the whole world was knocking on her door, asking about the billionaire's angel. But that night, when the phone rang for the fourth time, she knew it was him. Kara, please just hear me out. There's no need. She cut in her voice, hoarse with exhaustion. You don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone would have done. Not everyone would, Leo said, his breath heavy over the phone. I just want to help. I know about your student loans, about your daughter Era's hospital bills last year. What did you just say? The world seemed to stop. You investigated me. Silence. A thick, suffocating silence that hung between them. You actually had someone dig into my life, like I'm one of your charity projects. No, Kara, it's not like that. I know what you wanted. Her voice trembled. A rich man trying to feel like a good person. You throw money at things and hope they disappear. She hung up. The sound was sharp, final, like a door slamming on something that never had the chance to begin. Leo sat frozen in his gleaming penthouse where everything sparkled, except for his heart worn down by years of loneliness. For the first time in his life, he'd been rejected, not because he lacked money, but because he lacked trust. Kara held her daughter close. Mom, why are you crying? It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy's just tired. Outside, helicopters circled the night sky, camera flashes blinking through the window. The whole city was talking about the billionaire, Leo Harrison's guardian angel. But inside that tiny apartment, only a mother and daughter trembled through a storm they never chose. Kara remembered her father's words. You can be poor, but never let anyone think you can be bought. And so she decided she wouldn't answer the phone again. 2 weeks later, the media frenzy faded like morning mist, leaving behind only fatigue and silence. Kara went back to work at Mel's diner. Customers looked at her with a mix of pity and curiosity. Some whispered angel, others sneered, failed gold digger. She didn't care anymore. She just wanted normal back. But Leo couldn't. He sat in his 52nd floor office, staring out at the city without seeing it. Financial reports contracts, millions in revenue, they all passed before his eyes meaningless. He had once thought power was the strongest shield, but it turned out a sting ordinary woman had pierced it effortlessly with nothing but sincerity. Thursday night. As Kara was locking up the diner, she noticed an envelope tucked under the door. No logo, no return address, just her name, Kara, written in a shaky but careful hand. Inside was a letter and an old photograph. Kara, I've written this letter 12 times and erased it each time, afraid it would sound like an excuse. I was wrong. Wrong to investigate you. Wrong to think money could fix what I broke. But there's something you need to know. That night, I didn't just nearly die from a heart attack. I was dying from loneliness. When you held my hand, when you stayed without expecting anything, it was the most real moment I'd had in 20 years. I know you don't need saving. You've been saving yourself and Era your whole life. But maybe we could save each other from being alone. The photo slipped from her hands. A boy of about 7, standing beside a woman in a diner uniform. On the back, scrawled handwriting read, Mom and Son, 1988. She worked 3 jobs to raise me. Leo continued. She used to say, kindness isn't measured by how much you give, but by how much heart you put into it. She would have liked you. She would have said, that girl's got good hands, the kind that help without keeping score. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to meet again as Leo and Kara, not as the billionaire and the waitress. Kara wiped her tears, taking a shaky breath. She thought of her own mother, who had cleaned offices all night so her daughter could chase a nursing dream that never quite came true. Her mother once said, having pride is right, but don't let it blind you to a sincere heart. The next morning, Kara put on her old coat and drove to Harrison Industries. The glass tower loomed over the city like a cold fortress. But she wasn't afraid, because she'd already seen the man inside it, fragile, trembling, lonely, and heartbreakingly real. When she gave her name, Leo's assistant froze, then hurried to call upstairs. Moments later, Leo appeared. He looked different, still impeccably dressed, but with eyes full of fear and hope. Kara stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. I got your letter. She paused, studying him for a long moment. The same eyes, lost, weary, but so painfully honest. And I think, she said softly, smiling, just a little, your mother was right. You do have good hands, Leo. But next time, if you want to know something about me, Kara, said her voice gentle yet firm, just ask me directly. Leo looked at her, surprise flickering across his face, before it softened into a slow, genuine smile. The kind of smile that made all his business triumphs seem meaningless in comparison. I've got 1,000 questions I want to ask, he murmured. Then, start with a cup of coffee, Kara replied, half teasing. But somewhere with better coffee than Mel's Diner. 6 months later, in the warm kitchen of the Second Chances Center, Kara watched her little girl Era serve meals to struggling families. Laughter, the scent of baked bread, and the murmur of ordinary conversations filled the room with light. The Second Chances Cafe wasn't a charity. It was a new beginning for them both. Kara ran the operations, now armed with her newly earned social work degree. Leo, once a man of glass towers and cold boardrooms, quietly funded the project and shared his business experience without cameras or spotlights. Their friendship grew like a seed nurtured by honesty through simple dinners, long midnight talks, and silences that no one needed to explain. Leo knew about Kara's uneven past, her father's death, her unfinished dream of becoming a nurse, and her fierce desire to give Era a better future. And Kara understood him, the boy who'd lost his mother at 16, the man who had everything yet felt nothing, trapped in a world too bright to be warm. "Mom, Uncle Leo's here." Era's voice rang out like a beam of sunlight as she ran to the window. Leo appeared holding a few grocery bags, wearing a rolled-up shirt and a kind smile. He'd learned that sometimes the best way to help was to bring food, not pity. "How many families today?" he asked while setting the bags down. 43, Kara replied, tying her apron. And Mrs. Rodriguez brought tamales, her neighborhood specialty. Together they served food and listened to the stories of people learning how to begin again. And in Leo's eyes, Kara saw something different. Not the man once known for his wealth, but someone learning to give with his heart instead of his wallet. Leo realized that wealth only mattered when it brought warmth to real people. Kara learned that strength wasn't always about doing everything alone, but knowing when to let someone walk beside her. "You know," Leo said, as they took a short break between shifts, "I never properly thanked you." Kara looked up, smiling softly. "For what?" "For saving my life, once at the diner, and again when you walked into my office." His voice was low, raw, and honest enough to make her chest tighten. "I was dying slowly in that glass tower, and I didn't even know it." Kara's gaze softened. "We saved each other." That night, after the center closed and Era had fallen asleep, the two sat on the apartment steps, watching the sunset stain the sky pink. No cameras, no headlines, just two souls finding each other in the cracks of life. "Do you ever wonder," Leo began quietly, "what would have happened if you hadn't gone to work that night?" Kara thought for a moment. "I think we still would have met somehow. People who need the same kind of healing, they always find each other." Leo nodded, a quiet understanding in his eyes. He knew their bond wasn't built on gratitude or debt, but on recognizing the loneliness in each other and choosing to soothe it together. "My mother used to say," Leo smiled faintly, "that angels sometimes appear as ordinary people doing ordinary things, but with extraordinary hearts." Kara looked at him, her smile glowing in the fading light. She was a wise woman. She'd love this place, and she'd love you too. As the first stars appeared in the violet sky, Kara felt a deep, unshakable peace, as if she had finally found where she belonged. And for the first time in his life, Leo felt a sense of fulfillment that no number could measure, found not in power or success, but in her eyes, in being seen, understood, and loved, not for what he had, but for who he was. If you've ever believed that a small act of kindness can change a life, Kara and Leo's story is proof of that. Because kindness doesn't need to be loud, and second chances aren't just for the perfect. They're for those brave enough to open their hearts to trust again and to love. In a world that moves too fast, perhaps the most precious thing isn't success or fame, but finding someone who understands you, believes in you, and helps you make the world a little kinder. Because in the end, every human journey leads to the same place, to be loved and to belong. And sometimes, a cup of coffee, a smile, or a hand held out at the right moment is all it takes to begin again. For the most extraordinary miracles often begin with simple kindness.